Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, greetings, good people. Welcome to another edition of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. I absolutely love, I think y'all know this, being in a room with powerful women, with strong, intelligent, powerful women doing incredible things. So today we have a new author. She's a new author, but she's definitely not new at what she does. We are going to meet Dr. H.J. Muhammad, author and educator. She wrote this book, Lioness, the Awakening the Warrior Spirit Within. Now we're going to get into some leadership strategies. There's some things that I've been seeing out in the world these days that I'm excited to be able to talk to her about. Make sure you write in the comments, if you have questions, if you want your questions answered live, feel free to jump in those comments. We will definitely get a chance to chat it up with you and answer any of your questions. But, I think the concept of leadership is missing a voice. There are those that believe leadership comes in the titles that people hold. I actually think leadership revolves around people that know how to fix problems. Leaders communicate, leaders solve problems, and leaders work together. So today I'm going to go ahead and bring you Dr. Muhammad so we can get all up in it. Hi, Dr. Muhammad. How are you? Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Peace and blessings. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, beloved?
I'm awesome. The sun is finally out, so my mood is better.
Okay.
I know you're in Chicago. What's the weather like there?
It's like high 70s, so it's warm. It's not a lot of sun, so it's cloudy.
Okay. Well, you look nice and bright and happy and ready to be here and have this conversation with us. So I want you to tell the people a little bit about you and how you came about writing this book.
Oh, okay. I am Dr. H.J. Muhammad. The HJ stands for Hakima Jihad. I consider myself to be an educator because of the educational experience that I have. But I'm also a leader because I have years of leadership experience in different areas as far as business, consulting, just different areas, sales. The inspiration behind my book, the book is called Lioness, Awaken a Warrior Spirit Within. The original title of the book was Whose Woman Are You? And I would write a chapter, throw it in the garbage. Write another chapter, I just wasn't feeling it. Change it up, throw it in the garbage. I couldn't connect with that topic for some reason. And I remember hearing a lecture, I can't remember who was conducting a lecture, and he says, if you're writing something and you don't connect with the story, you don't want to write it, then the reader's not going to want to read it. There's something missing. And I went some years, and once I started working into the maximum male prison, a maximum facility. It was when I was able to answer the question of who I was. See, the reason why I couldn't finish the book, because I couldn't even answer the question of asking the question to myself. But once I got into an arena and was surrounded by predators, I was able to ask myself, whose woman are you? And in that journey, I was able to come up with the answer, I'm God's woman. And just out of that journey, strength emerged, and people asked me, how do you connect with that much strength? And in that connection, people would say, you should write about it. And that's how the book came to be.
I love that. So the connection is a little choppy. Maybe we can get rid of the headphones, maybe.
Oh, okay. Let me switch to a headset.
It's all good. But while you're doing that, I want to talk about the male prison facility that you were in. What is your career background and how did you wind up working where you are now? Was it something that you wanted to do? or was this kind of a happenstance? Because I think many of us wind up in positions and occupations that might not have been our, first choice, or maybe it has been, because I do have friends that are in the justice system that want to be there. So talk to us about that.
No, actually, I was a bank manager,
Okay.
and every 10 years, the finance. Can you hear me? Can you hear me a lot better?
The headphones are kind of, I think the headphones are causing it to be choppy a little bit.
Oh, okay, all right. But while I'm changing it, I'll tell my story. I started out I was in banking, and every 10 years, the financial industry tends to go down. I end up losing that position, and ended up in sales, and I did not really like it. It just didn't feel rewarding. So at that point, the opportunity came from a neighbor. Hey, we're hiring. And I ended up becoming an officer. Now, law enforcement was always an interest to me. However, I didn't see myself making a career out of it. But 11 years later, I'm still in law enforcement. I'm just on a counselor. I'm in a counselor role at this point.
Okay. And how many years have you been doing that now?
I've been doing it for 11 years, going on 12 years.
Wow. Okay. So what's next for you? You've written the book, you work in law enforcement. What's next?
What's next is to get out and continue consulting. It's a lot of leadership experience that I've gained over the years, but just added to it from working in the prison system. I mean, you learn a lot about people when you get to deal with people on different levels. So I never thought working in the prison system, I would learn a lot about people in general and those who are not even in the prison system.
What is one of the most dynamic experiences you have had while working in the prison system? And what has your leadership strategies been able to teach you about this experience that you had?
The greatest experience was learning the power of femininity. And I think we never been taught the power of the presence of divine femininity, because there's toxic femininity and there's divine femininity, but understanding the impact on both of those on male masculinity is very powerful. Understanding that the level of thinking of the men is affected by my level of thinking is a very powerful lesson.
Now, you being in a position where you are a minority. This is a male dominated industry, and we continuously try to empower women to step into their power, right? And express themselves, exert themselves, be as authentic as they can in these spaces. So, talk to me about how your own personal leadership strategies have allowed for you to be successful in a male dominated industry.
By being authentic, by not allowing other people or the environment to change who I am, just letting that environment nurture me to the point I could demonstrate what I am. Because the only way to pull out of you what's in you, you got to have it's a scientific act where opposite energy has to pull what's in you out of you. And just being in a very toxic environment brought righteousness out of me.
What does that look like? So give me an example of a situation where you are able to utilize your leadership style and skills to be able to navigate through a difficult situation.
I'm going to say while in the prison system, um, one particular unit that I was in was a lot of young men. And in that unit, I walked in, and of course, they thought I'm in my 50s. So they actually thought I was much younger. So a lot of them was, hey, baby, how you doing? Saying very inappropriate things to me because it's the first time they ever was introduced to me. And one particular young man, I'm not even going to repeat what he said. I told him what I'm going to do is open up this cell door. I'm going to take off my duty belt and I'm going to beat your backside. I didn't say it that way. And I said, I'm not a young girl. I'm old enough to be your mother. I left back and came back 30 minutes later, about 30 minutes later, back to that same cell. And this young man wrote me a letter. The young men started writing pictures. They started the whole way of dealing with me once they realized my age group and I demonstrated that I cared for them. I said, I'm going to spank you because if I was your mother, you wouldn't be in here. It changed. And I started to realize what these men were lacking and why they were incarcerated was that strong mother figure. And that changed how I started dealing with those men that's in the prison system. I started to take a more nurturing role and opposed to a more policing role.
Mm.
And it changed. It helped me to understand, I guess through God's lens, because I asked to take on his coloring because I didn't understand it. To understand that, to be able to see what these men were lacking, it was divine femininity. I said, that's
Mm.
the key. That's the key to healing the world if we only understand it's that authentic woman who's strongly connected to God and is not tempted easily sexually. She could help heal the world if she's not tainted.
Divine femininity. So I hear this word, toxic masculinity, or and do you think that there's an opposite to that? Is there a toxic femininity? Is that a thing?
Yes, it is. And the
Talk to
reason
me
why
about
I
that.
say that is because in my environment, women are a minority. So if you're a minority, and it's this thing in the prison system where it says if you're a 4 on the street, you're an 8 in the prison system. Meaning if you're a woman that don't get a lot of attention in the world, you'll get a lot of attention inside the prison system. So there were a lot of women who were feeding into that, loving that, yearning for that.
Mm.
And so if you're a woman who keeps a man on his, if you continue to allow a man to relate to you on a sexual level, that's where you keep him at. If you elevate his thinking, that'll take him off a sexual level and he'll respond accordingly. So the
Mm.
men, one woman could come in front of me and they could say, hey, baby, when I walk past this queen, because I tell them, don't talk down to me. That's not the level I'm on. You're going to address me accordingly. And so that forces the man to elevate his thinking once he's dealing with a woman that's on a higher level.
Okay, so let's take that outside of the prison. Do you think, let's go ahead and take it there. Do you think the same applies outside of the prison, on the streets, in our communities? Like
It
you're
does.
saying something that I've said before, and I don't work in the prison. So talk to me.
It does because the same man that won't open the door for another woman, he'll open it for me because I understand his masculinity. If I see him, first of all, I'm going to speak, and the energy that I'm going to give him is not going to be rude. It's not going to be sexual. It's going to be respectful. It's going to activate something in him to say, man, I'm going to respect this one. If he opens the first door, first I'm going to give an opportunity to open the door. He opens the door. If it's a second door, I'm going to wait for him to open that next door, and I'm going to thank him because he didn't have to do it. Yes, I can open my own door. I can. But if a man is present, I'm going to allow him to be a man, and I'm going to give him that opportunity. If he don't, I'm not going to be upset. But if I'm going to give him that opportunity, and if he obliged, then I know, okay, then I know that I've activated something in him that I may not have activated based on my behavior. The same man that would call a woman out their name, depending on how we treat ourselves and how we carry ourselves, and educating that man on, let me correct you, sir. Please don't respond to me in that way. Informs him that, oh, I'm dealing with a different type of woman. So the same rules apply. The way I carry myself in the prison system, I don't carry myself any different in the world. I
Mm.
deal with men the same way because the same man that's incarcerated is the exact same man that's not incarcerated. One chose to decide to commit a criminal act while the other one didn't.
So what do you think about this independent, I don't need a man, I can do it all by myself attitude that seems to be pretty pervasive in our society right now?
That's just women living in masculine energy. We have a misunderstanding of what divine femininity is. I'm sorry, I have some noise in the background.
Oh,
It,
good.
it's a,
So let,
and women think being feminine, being in feminine energy means weakness. And that's not true. I'm a very strong woman, but when I'm around men, it's a certain way I'll carry myself. It's a certain type of energy that I will exert because I'm in the presence of men. Masculine energy is that go-get energy. Oftentimes, if we're a single woman and we may be the head of our household, we get stuck in that masculine energy. Feminine energy is just relaxed, laid back, and not taking that initiative. It's being more intuitive. And I
So
think
what's the balance? Is there balance?
it is. It is because when I need to have that initiative, when I need uh, to achieve a type of goal, that's masculine energy. When I need to retreat and take care of self and absorb,
Hmm.
meaning absorb what's in the environment, absorb nature, or absorb conversation, or just absorb healing, or just absorb understanding or learning, that's feminine energy. If we understand energies, that's the reason why as women we miss the point, because we don't understand this energy. It's not about I'm a woman, you a man. It's about me understanding feminine energy and understanding masculine energy and him doing the same.
Can you have feminine energy? No. Can you have masculine energy in a traditional marriage?
You can. I mean, that's where the man comes in. If he's head of the household, then you have that. Every marriage is different. I've been married 27 years, so my husband is a military man, a soldier. So he exerts a lot more masculine energy than probably the average man. That balance allows me to step back more in my femininity because I don't have to exert it much energy because he's taking that male role. When he's not present and I'm with my daughters, I'm able to do that because now I'm taking a protective role. So that balance is, if I'm in a protective role, that's masculine energy. So if I'm in a more uh, uh, reserve energy, that's feminine energy. I hope I'm answering the question. If not, please.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's my other question is how does your sounds like quite the alpha male
Mhm, yeah,
man
very.
feel about his very feminine wife working in a male dominated industry?
He's the one that encouraged me. Actually, we both applied at the same time. Isn't that crazy? And I'm thinking like, I can't work in a prison. He's like, well, our neighbor, she works in there. She has her hair done, her nails done. She's gorgeous. So why can't you work in there? And I'm like, you're right. So I mean, but the difference I think is my husband understanding feminine energy and not
Mm,
being, because he understands and not being intimidated by it, not wanting to distinguish it. Some men don't understand strong feminine energy and they're intimidated by it. They may want to dim your light. They may want to control it. They may want to put the
mm.
light out. But the difference is that he understands. So, in order for masculine and feminine energy to both work and be balanced, you both have to understand how much energy to exert. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
If
I
he's
absolutely
masculine,
do.
if he's an alpha male, then I can be a little more reserved. If he was less of an alpha male, then I would have a lot be a little more initiative. So I have friends who have been married for years, and their relationship is more equal. There, it's not a question of this person taking the lead, that person taking the lead. They both have understanding of those energies, but they choose to balance those energies in a way that I'm giving the same amount of you're giving. That's different. That will vary per relationship to relationship. With me being in a relationship with a alpha male, his philosophy is you don't have to work, but that's something I choose to do. Other couples may go, no, for us to make it work, we're both going to work. The woman wants to work, the man wants her to work, and he supports that. I think those are the differences there in understanding that.
Mm. Okay, talk to me about how much of this is in your book. What can
Oh,
people expect in this book?
I talk a lot about the power of tapping into your divine femininity, and when you need to tap into masculine energy, and tapping into that masculine energy is really connecting strongly with the God. And in this book, I talk about a situation where a a sexual predator, a rapist,
Mm.
stared me down. And if you've ever been stared down by a man who's a rapist, you feel raped. It's almost like he rapes you with his eyes. that defining moment, I had to tap into stronger energy than his, because he's coming with masculine energy. He's coming as a predator. I tapped into that God energy. I tapped into that divine femininity, because divine femininity and divine masculinity is God energy. They're both God energy. But feminine energy is creative energy. That's the same energy, that's destructive energy. So people should never negate how powerful feminine energy is. But in that moment, it was a standoff, and I told him, what are we gonna do? And excuse my French, but this is the title of the 5th chapter. I said, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna fuck or are we gonna fight? And his eyes got really
I
big.
think you blew his mind.
Yeah, I blew his mind, and it blew my coworkers' mind. They all looked at me like, what did you just say? And then there were other inmates around. But in that moment, he understood I can't intimidate her. He understood feminine energy is the most powerful energy in the universe, because it took creativity to come up with that in that moment. But it took the power of God to back me to say, this is my woman and you are not going to conquer her. You're not going to do it. And
So I
so
see
in
that
the book, I talk about.
you are minus a filter. You
You said what?
you are unfiltered.
Yeah, I'm unapologetic when I need to be, just when I need to be. And in certain arenas, like that one in the prison system, people say whatever they want to say, whatever they think. There's no filter in that arena. So in that arena, I'm going to be unapologetically me. But if I'm in a professional environment, of course, that wouldn't be the way I would communicate something. But in a professional environment, I wouldn't even have to come across that way. But in the book, I talk about when it's time to assess a situation to determine, do I need to come with that lion or lioness spirit?
Mm.
Or do I need to just be reserved, and that's just a battle not worth fighting?
Well, let
And the
me ask
grocery,
you, how are you outside of the prison in your personal relationships? What about your girlfriends? Because I'm thinking girlfriends probably don't all know how to deal with that unfiltered. What are your thoughts?
well, it's funny because my girlfriends call me Hawk. Hawk is short for Hakima. And with Hakima being my first name, my friends call me Hawk, not just because they want to shorten my name, but because I speak truth. But you can speak truth without being offensive. You could tell someone you offended me in a very effective way, in a in opposed to, I don't like what the hell you just said. you know, that's for that's a street talk when you're dealing with a street person. But when you're dealing with someone on a much higher level, you can have a very important conversation, a very effective conversation, where it's, let's have a conversation, because let's talk about the interaction that we had this morning, or let's talk about the interaction that we had a couple of days ago. Let's talk about it. And so both persons are heard. That's where that leadership comes in, where you have to learn to listen, not to respond, but listen to understand where that other
Mm,
person is coming from. And so
say that.
often we listen to respond. Hurry up and say what you got to say so I can jump in and say what has to be said. And then that's not effective when you're trying to communicate with people and creatively come to a resolution, a conflict resolution. But
I
my
love that.
girlfriends, you know what? They laugh because they say, I don't understand how you're able to go from a very feminine place, and when we need to be where you need to be that aggressive person, you can do it in seconds. So if I'm out with my girlfriends, we're hanging out, it's all feminine, unless some man comes along, he decides I'm going to offend this group of women because there's no male protector. Well, of course, in that situation, as women, we have to protect ourselves. And so that's when that lioness comes out. But typically, I don't really have to demonstrate the lioness spirit. It's only at work, really.
I hear you. So, talk to me about your book writing process and how you got through this book, because it's your first time. I know it's not easy. Sometimes I'm sure there was moments where you're like, how'd you get through it?
Well, I mean, the writing part was easy because I'm a writer. The communicating the my authentic self was a little difficult because I struggled with trying to have that balance from sounding arrogant or sharing my own experience. And I had a writing coach, Anthony Lindsay. He's an author. Google that brother. He is a wonderful author. Taking his class and him demonstrating how important it is to communicate what you're feeling, to communicate you. What a lesson that he taught me is, what makes the reader want to read your book.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people are writing book, but what makes them want to read the book? What makes them want to connect with the book? What makes them waiting like a cliffhanger for the next chapter? What makes them say, I gotta hurry up and read the next chapter instead of putting your book down? What makes them say, I'm waiting for the next book that you write? What is what is it that you're doing? And so you have to connect with the writer. You have to be authentic. And just that experience itself taught me that you have to be authentic in everything that you do.
Well, you're spicy, so I'm about to get back into this book. I'm halfway through. Um, yeah, I laughed a lot, but I laugh at everything because I think people take life so serious. It's you get so offended by everything, you get so uptight about everything. Even you laugh at yourself. I see. So I can definitely appreciate what you bring to the pages. I love it. I encourage everyone out there to get it, to marinate on some of the gems that she's dropping. What are three words that you would never want affiliated with you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would never want someone to say that I am not authentic. 'Cause I'm very, very much what you see is what you get, and that's the way I am all the time. The next one would be a person that has a lack of vision. I have vision, and I would never want that to be associated me as a person that don't have vision, because that's definitely not true. And the third one would be I am definitely not shallow. I'm a very deep person. I'm a deep thinker. So if and just that deep thinking has saved a lot of relationships, because in my 20s I severed a lot of relationships, not really understanding how to communicate effectively, or evaluate my feelings effectively. So the deepness is very much a description of myself, because we need to know the difference between internal conflict and real conflict. You doing something that I don't like is not necessarily something I need to have a conversation with you about. And maybe it's something I need to work out in private.
I love that. So tell the people how they can get in touch with you, get your book,
Okay.
continue to follow your journey, stay connected. Like let them know, give them all the good stuff.
Okay. Well, you can, I'm Dr. H.J. Muhammad. You can go to drhjmuhammad.com. You can go to Dr. H.J. Muhammad on Twitter. You can go to Dr. H.J. Muhammad on Instagram. You can go to Dr. H.J. Muhammad on Facebook, and I am everywhere with that name. Just try to keep it consistent and make it easy to follow me. You can also reach me at royalempress.org. That's my non for profit organization that's dedicated to elevating Black women emotionally, spiritually, and emotionally. Oh, you can also find me on YouTube as Dr. H.J. Muhammad, and TikTok as Dr. H.J.
Oh,
Muhammad.
wait a minute. You on TikTok? Stop
Yes, I am.
playing.
Yes, I am. So I do like videos. It's called Away with Old Thinking Patterns. And I just talk about different thinking patterns that we need to reevaluate, some
Mm,
generational curses that we need to reevaluate so that we can correct them and elevate the next generation.
I
Oh, the
love
book
it.
you can find on barnesandnobles.com, Amazon, on any outlet where you can purchase book, any digital outlet.
I absolutely appreciate you taking the time. You guys, down at the ticker, you see her information for her website. It's all there. I've actually seen it. So head on over to her website, connect with her on social, make sure that you read the book. Read the book. It's not that complicated. Read the book. There's definitely some gems, opportunities to laugh, think different, grow, learn, develop a level of humility and humanity that may be missing, and just take some time. I don't think we read enough. They say they hide secrets in books, so I think you have a couple gems and secrets in there for the folks.
Yes, thank you. And
So
thank
I
you.
hope they get it. I
Thank you.
appreciate you being here. I know the people do, and we will always be in support of you. Will you be touring or doing anything cool? Where can we find you? And you're gonna be out in the public with the people. Like, what are we doing here?
Oh, I am just any speaking opportunities that come forward. I would definitely be doing that. I would be speaking at Queen's Retreat coming up in June in Wisconsin. Um, Queens of Purpose. I'm sorry, Queens of
Okay.
Purpose Retreat. I'll be speaking at that in Wisconsin. But you can catch me at my website, Anything that I'm doing, I'm sharing on my social media sites. So
Okay.
please follow me on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Follow me on all those sites. You can also follow me at, Conversations with Royal Empress. We have a podcast. It's called Conversations with the Royal Empress, and
Oh,
we're on
cool.
Podbean, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple, what's the podcast is for Apple iTunes. We're on, if you have Google Play, I think we're on that as well. So those
Shameless
are all the
plug.
places you can find me.
Shameless plug, Black Podcast Association. I do trainings for them and partner
Mhm,
with them. We are actually doing a mental health awareness spaces on
mhm.
Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, guys, I just reposted it, but we would love for you guys to join us. And you're a Black podcaster, so I hope you'll be there.
Yes,
But
yes,
definitely talking about some of the stresses in being a podcaster and just that we all deal with through life. I'm sure working where you work can be a little stressful at times. So, how do we de stress? How do we stay in the right mental space dealing with a lot of these things? And sometimes it's just being around people that understand and get it. So, hopefully, maybe we can connect there also.
definitely,
But
definitely.
I love that you're here. Once you're a member of the Leaders and Learners family, you're always a part of the family. So,
Thank
anything
you.
you have, please send it our way so that
Okay.
we can share and support. We're all about that. Again, we want to thank you. Y'all stay connected to the
Yeah.
good doctor over here.
All right.
Learn how to get out of old mindset ways of thinking and doing things. And, let's continue to just uplift and empower
All right. Thank you so
and
much. I
continue to
appreciate it.
learn. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you for being here.
All right. Take care now. Bye bye.
Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What you think about today's episode? And share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you and we'll see you soon.